Vice President, my colleague Vice President Taban Dengai, the Honorable Ministers, Deputy Ministers, and especially our experts up there. Good evening to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to congratulate the experts, really, for unearthing very vital information. And surely we cannot do without this information. As long as we subject it to critical analysis. Yes. Don't take it as it is, analyze it critically. However, we did overload. With a lot of theory. We have theorized so much on it, to the extent that the real practical aspect disappears or tries to disappear. And this is clear. By the way, those of us who are not here, including the first Vice President, we have also, like His Excellency the President, been following up the TB. Okay. Very keenly. I was in Kenya for the 3 days. I was observing, and the time there goes beyond, so up to something like 1 o'clock. And I congratulate those of Ministry of Information, Comrade Makwe. I think you did an excellent job. Mabruk for showing all that to the South Sudanese. We really need that information. Yes. As politicians, this is why I say this data is subject to critical analysis. Because as politicians, and we are wearing two hats. The session of today, we are people wearing two hats. The political hat, the social hat, which is embodied, of course, with the realities. And there is no way we can sorrow this head. And so, most of controversial issues, politically, you come to resolution or conclusion through expedience. Others call it expediency. Oh yes, this is the way. Put the interest of your people first. Interest first. Other things come later. Especially when the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. This is how decisions are taken. There is simply nothing in this world which has no pros and cons. Everything in this world, even this pen of mine, galamda, indu iyub, wa mujibat, ulisunu. Point, yes. Absolutely, everything. So we should not be scared by hearing of either advantages or disadvantages. Everything has this. But you see which one does overweigh. And I've been doing this myself, maybe like most of you. And to convince ourselves, I'm happy some of my colleagues, including Tabanden Guy, has really talked at length on this. there was an occasion of the late minister. In fact, it is the death of the late minister, a little bit beyond that, that brought this issue to be a national row. Oh yes. And so, the three of us sitting here, in the last funeral of his, we thought that was exactly the right time. Some people say no, it was overloaded. Overloaded how? There are things to be clarified so that he goes with a clean name to the Almighty God. Truth must be said in this on this earth, so that we don't throw dirt on the late who has no tongue to talk. But first, this word dredging, Leju there, I'm very much satisfied with his definition, and I think Brother Isaac, to the extent that in one of the sessions we were seeing from Nairobi, the audience had for the first time a standing ovation for him. I don't forget that. A standing ovation of these hundreds of people, and the hall was, of course, more full than ours now. Yeah, exactly. One, and so, Brother Alier, please receive this ovation from me. I'm already standing. Just to add to what you already got from that bigger gathering. I only differ with you on one very small thing. You said about dredging, and I will come to define dredging as you just define it and he defined it. This is where I agree. But then you say dredging in that first day will have to include making harbors along the river. If I got you right, because I was far away. Ports, yes, exactly. Ports are small harbors, by the way. So ports. And as a matter of fact, this is where I differ from you, because I have to clarify scientifically. You can never have, you see, the main aim why we need this dredging, which I will define according to what others have correctly defined, is, I agree with those who say that we have to rescue our people from floods because they are dying in front of us now, not tomorrow. Now, not tomorrow. To the extent that maybe 80% of this big district known as Punjab, about 80% of the people have gone beyond their own district, looking for higher grounds. Our people in Bur, the same thing, maybe 60% displaced. In Bentiu, maybe 50% now displaced. And we think that we should wait until all the sciences of the world are finished, and then we'll come to rescue them from drowning. That would be very insensitive. That would be very insensitive of us. Death is death. Cannot wait. You rescue life. And so, the aim therefore is not only to reduce the flooding, but it is also to create navigation for us, transport. Minister Madur was right. That is actually maybe our second aim as a government. Yes. Because now you have seen prices. Who is not buying from Konyo Konyo? All of us are buying from Konyo Konyo. And because of shortage of commodities owing to the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, commodities, my friend, are being now restricted in Kenya. I'm coming from there. Are being restricted in Uganda. They prefer to store more than to export. And for us who have nothing to give to our people, what shall we do? We must be practical. Let us not depend on one direction. Don't depend on one cash crop. Let us look for alternative. in order to kill this food situation, our alternative, my friend, even in rank here, we are producing plenty of food. I've been there many times. Many of you did so. But it is not reaching here. Do you know why? Some of the traders tried Betiara by plane to bring this here, but it is not feasible at all. It is so expensive. So we continue to die without making alternative. And food is in rank. Not only food is in rank, and Sudan is ready to sell us cheap food, even cheaper than what we get from here. Oh yes, from Gadarib, where all this is ready there. But we cannot bring them to rescue our people, given these prices we now know, because we cannot transport it. We did not transport it. We cannot transport because the river is blocked. It's blocked not only by these sediments that we know. It includes mud, it includes sand, it includes trees, it includes boburat, which we actually make drone or destroy it during the conflict, and so many other sediments. These all amount to sediments. Boburat cannot move. So we need rank through steamer, navigation. This is why we need that side. We also need navigation, comrades, if we could also reach to where the oil is being refined. Because who is not knowing the prices, how they are rising? I thought all of you are driving in this world. Let us be practical. Soon, come another 2 months, we may not even be able to go from our homes to the offices. Simply because you cannot afford. Completely. This is bound to happen. But we have oil already refined. You see the paradox. Can't we risk to bring this oil of ours here? Just by dredging the 30 miles? Then, in this context, so I define dredging as the process of scooping sediments from the bed of the river, keeping the depth as it is. But some of our professors are concerned about the depth. But I was happy with Alier. Alier said, provided you do not increase the depth. And this, sorry, Isaac, Alier is not here. Yeah, it's too far for me to know. Isaac correctly put it right. Yes. We are not going to dig deeper than it was originally. We just want to remove the sand and the mud that has been surrounded there without increasing it. This got to be clear. Let us not mislead anybody. Yes. So removing the mud, and then the other sediments, call them debris and so on. This is the dredging I know, and I will continue to call it dredging. But it amounts up to cleaning the river. Yes, cleaning the river. As simple as that. Okay then, if this is the understanding, historically, what was happening? Are we going to be the first to dredge this river? Are we going to be the first scientists? Are we going to be the first ministers here to try to think about dredging the river and with the meaning of cleaning and clearing the river? Are we the first? No, my friend. History speaks for itself in volumes. The first colonial master who came here, the Turks, they would not have reached. Wow. Because there were no roads, as simple as that, without dredging, without cleaning the streams. Because these rivers are millions of years, of course, if not going to billions, for that matter. They would not have arrived Gondokoro, where they came to in 1940, and eventually to Rajab. So how did they come? There were no roads, of course, everybody will believe this. So how did they come? First thing they did was the first few steamers, they had to start dredging because nobody was using these rivers anyway before them. So they had to start by dredging. And then the Ansars came. For them to go to different ends of the south, they had to dredge the river because no roads. And then came the British. They even improved the implements or the equipment for dredging. And then came now the independence. Some of us have seen this river being dredged. Manehna kuna bedor bebobura riach. Minuma so bebobur benedipu o masi bebobur tan. Is it going to be new for us here? And then we say this is going to be the end of the world. Those people who have accepted dredging must be fools. They want to kill our people. Oh my God. I don't think anybody can claim to be more patriotic than many of us. We are trying to do the opposite, rescue the life of our people. So yes, historically this dredging has been going on, and the fears surrounded to us now by some of the scientists, maybe in good faith, never existed. None of them ever existed. Our people continued. So why today we are scared? Let them give us this so that we can make some improvements, but not to scare us up. That should be the point, really. Yes. Otherwise, we are trying to say that the Turks didn't have scientists, the British did not have scientists, and we are simply the first scientists now. In the evening like this. So, this is where I say expediency has to be used to maximum. With this, the issue of cooperation, I admit, you see that the issue was blown up also by the Ministry of Environment. But I agree with you, Brother Africano, in that if it is true, and I'm saying if it is true that your ministry was not consulted by the Ministry of Water, then that was unfortunate and wrong. But there is one thing which I know. All resolutions of the cabinet, before they go to the cabinet, they first come to the clusters. The late Minister Manoa, Allah Yarhamu, he went to the governance cluster, which has more ministers. But because he also belonged to my cluster, he also came to the economic cluster. And we digested this with a lot of papers, with a lot of data, by the way, some of which I did not see here. It was simply scientific. Maybe he did not have time to tell people that I also use scientists. Oh yes. And then we were satisfied at the level of the cluster. And we took this to the level of the cabinet. The cabinet was satisfied. So any minister today trying to jump out from a resolution of the council of ministers is being wrong. Because according to our regulations as ministers, even if you are against it in the hall, but the time you come out, you must stand and defend that resolution. Yes, and the resolution we have repeated many times, by dates and by numbers. So it is not be a minister to come up in public and say this was wrong, or that the government is not aware. Which government now? The government is all of us. Now, we have to understand this honestly, so that we do not contradict ourselves in public. People are asking, then what kind of cabinet is this? Some are aware, others are not aware. What the hell? Yeah. Maybe some of us who are already against it will come to Momoria. Malis, kanita jamin Momoria, you first ask. Find out from the minister concerned. And so on. But never contradict. Otherwise, we will never move an inch. If we have to rely on the few differences, a certain minister must be opposed to some points, we will never move. We do things through consensus and then majority. As simple as that. So, yes, if that did not happen, it was unfortunate, but did not need to amount. Africanos should have gone to Emmanuel, for example, of water, and said, Emmanuel, what happened to this issue? How did you do it alone? Maybe Africano was absent. Or the minister of Africanos should have gone to the other minister of water. This is how people do things harmoniously, comrades. Kalina ma gum sere tu nepsu pitana gida moatin pitana. Esi we nena be mangmang. Nena mage mangmang. We are scientists in our own right. Yes. So let us also know that our good experts here had collected their documents through intensive research. But scientifically, that is not the last research. Research always evolves and develops. Next time, another research may even disqualify what they are telling us today. And for Professor Touch will agree with me. There is no end to research. So let us be content with whatever we believe is not going to cause us a major disadvantage. Now, I beg to differ with some of my colleagues who say that in such platforms we must mention something about Jongole Canal. The issue is not that I'm differing with them principally, but the issue is some of them are so agitated that they will not even listen to you, whatever you say. They have become prejudiced. Jongole is not, no, Kalaska Kankida is bad, is wrong. Even without listening to the scientific fact you want to forward. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that whereas I would accept that we study Jongole issue even longer than the issue of the feasibility of the dredging, which to me really, after all the information and maybe the good recommendations, it will be up to us also, because the recommendations will come to us to make use of some of them or even not make use of some of them in our final resolution in the Council of Ministers. But as a matter of fact, I must throw some light on Jongole. We are scared for nothing. De hakika igulu. Cape Kalamda. You see, let me bring an example. 4,000 years before Christ, this river Nile, there was no dredging. And near Cairo, from Memphis, those of you who are also historians, from Memphis, the river was going 4 kilometers away from the current course. But because of no dredging, it closed up. It closed up. Until a small channel just started to enlarge itself and so on. In our case, Brother Makwe is correct when he says that Gidamna, if somebody does not believe Makwe and also believe me, tomorrow you go to Gabat Hini. Just go to Gabat. You will see practically, not theoretically. Not theoretically. You will see the Nile blocking, closing. It is actually getting into a forest. It is becoming a forest. From near us here in Juba, the former ports, where the steamers used to anchor. Those of us by that time, we were students, but I said the Victoria Kiaude, we knew where Bobur was moving through, and some of you who are more or less of our age. They just started recently. And so it blocked because of no dredging. Now, okay, we saw, let us use that one. The one going through Garbu and then to Mangala. That one, as long as we don't do N1, it has to be N1, this cleaning. As long as we don't do the annual cleaning, it is also filling up. It has reached Mangala. And common sense, this is why Bobur cannot any longer come to Juba. And it will go on until it goes to Malakal, my friend, with time to come, even up to Rang area. It will close. And it will bring not a tomorrow's disadvantage, but a real death. No supplies. We want to supply our people tomorrow and next tomorrow. As simple as that. Now, when we were debating this issue before we pass it through the cluster, some of us also consulted some scientists in this field and about the canal itself, about canal. They said, nowadays, let us not think of the canals of those years. And they brought it home in our case. First they said, they even visited Egypt. You know this Egypt, this Nile, it becomes White Nile from the confluence from Lake No, where Jebel has entered there, and of course there also Baragazal. The time they leave Lake No, automatically becomes White Nile. When White Nile meets Blue Nile in Khartoum, automatically there they become the Nile. This is what it is. So they said this Nile, if you go south of Cairo, which also I went south of Cairo to test this practical fact, although I know they are scientists. This Nile does not reach the Mediterranean Sea. When I was in geography, in my secondary school and intermediate, I saw this river Nile is going to Mediterranean Sea. It is supposed to reach Mediterranean Sea. But the scientific use, because water is so important. Water is life, as he put it. Our brothers and sisters, the Egyptians, do not want to waste a single drop of water to just go and forth to Mediterranean Sea for water. So what do they do? Just south of Cairo, this place called Delta. You have read it in the geography. From south of Cairo, there are canals. I think about 8 or 10 of them. Huh? What is it in Bezab? 21 canals. And these canals have been spread like this over a distance of 200 kilometers until where they go and meet near Mediterranean Sea, and it is blocked there. Now, somebody will say, where does the water end? There is a bigger canal brought back like this, not so long a distance, but for recycling. And because it has become filthy, dirty, all form of debris. So this is again recycled and becomes nice water, just like when you taste it here, and use again in the same process. In the middle, if my fingers are the canals, in the middle of these canals, this is where now the irrigation, the drinking, either of human beings or even of animals and so on, this is where it takes place. And then, where the canals start, the water is being regulated. There is a regulator. A certain sakin, Amara Deb Besit, just at the beginning, a local dam, a dam with this blade. You can go and see even in Jinja there, but that one is bigger than that. It has to go deep into the soil if you don't want water to go again, and you want water to accumulate under your control. So they said, wherever we are going to start our canals, we can make them even this number or more. And then these canals will go through Akobo. These canals will go through Ayud. These canals will go through where? And even the current canal will be moved. And then you have the Nile. So you will have this going like this. Why? To solve a number of problems. What are these problems that we want to solve, comrades? Number one is the issue of drought. Because as a result of consistent drought every year, our people struggle over the little water and grazing areas. They kill themselves in hundreds. Who does not know this? Leave alone the food itself for consumption. Because you did not cultivate during the rains because it was flooded, And now and our people are going to die in big numbers because of hunger. Famine, actually, not hunger. Now. They have started dying. Because the water is not controlled, Gedur Sambala. And then, so you will have this, and then you have the main Nile now, Bahar Jebel in this case, also going. All of them will go like this. More or less similar to the ones we saw in Egypt. So, if more water is needed ahead, we open this year. According to how much water? If this one is becoming a flood on us, a big lake, more than what we want, then this regulator is moved up. A reasonable amount of water is allowed to go. This is how we can control the issue of Jungule, where we become scared. I'm sorry. It was those of us who were students by that time, in 70s. But as Dr. Yak said today, we were doing it for political expediency. We want to become independent. And anybody we suspect will be against our independence, we work against. So we came up with these stories. Oh, this 3 million will be Egyptian, will be resettled. Oh, this will happen. And so exaggerated the stories. And it is this exaggeration that took us in big numbers to go and fight. Now our small boys here, not here, the youth here, I should have called them the youth, not small boys. Because the youth would even cover a wider scope. Some of our youth didn't know the origin of how we came to protest against Jongole. But this is simply the background. We were the ones in the street. Not that we were beggar Murphy. Nothing. So we have met our objective. It is now time that we are the ones in charge for the welfare of these people. For the welfare of these people. By going after facts through expediency. So, whatever fear of water, some say water will all run away. Run away, keep Mapi control. There is going to be a control. And we can control more the more we have the dams that were counted. I don't want to go there for the sake of time. But it will be controlled according to what we want, how much water we want. For the fear that, one time the river Nile will dry when it is the cleaning is done. This is absolutely untrue. It would have dried now because it was already being dredged. Why is it not dry? Ask yourself. Question mark. Why? Why? Because behind there, even behind Lake Victoria, the biggest lake there, actually in Africa, Lake Victoria, there are other lakes, about 6 of them. You begin with Lake Edward, you come to Lake George, you come to Lake Albert, you go to Lake Kyoga, and so on. All those lakes, they are the ones feeding the Nile. Who does not know where the source of the Nile is? Right from Edward there, very far, and George. So it is the one feeding our small Nile. But how much water are we taking away so that we will drain all these lakes? Common sense. What is the volume of the water which will be going, and again of the water which will be draining from those lakes? What is the volume of those lakes? But you have to know that those lakes also have tributaries. Over 100 rivers join the Nile in different ways, if not in their thousands. So the idea of the river will dry because we will have done the cleaning. What kind of cleaning is that to dry up the river? But let us control it then in this way. So we are afraid of a monster which is not there. Which is not there. Comrades, we have no time to waste to rescue our people. You saw them before. And this is and the Stad itself is more than Upper Nile, is more than the Jongole state. Jongole is the biggest. I agree with Dr. Riak before. But the South is bigger than that. It goes all the way up to Melut and all the way up to Maban and all the way up to Jiko area. Are you going to drain all these waters simply because the river Nile is improved? We are just opening Mahal Sakar Tababur Yakwan. Mahal Sakar Tababur Kali Babur Douru. Yes, that will help reducing the floods, but then also Babur Bedouru. It is not like we are going to use a kind of what to pull all the water, which is even beyond our capacity as human beings. So we are scared for no reason, comrades. Okay, in conclusion, indeed, I agree with you. I have overtaken the time. Forgive me for that. But I thought some of these issues are so important that if we don't say them, they will never be said again. And I'm happy that Dr. Riakis is still coming. Let us get all that information. Please, be very important. Yes. Yes. And don't take his statement because he's coming from Bentiu and it is the people of Bentiu who are droning what we saw. No. I'm supporting the dredging. Am I coming from Bentiu? The welfare for all our people, regardless of which community. Hagiga igulu ya juma. Hagiga igulu. We should not associate, and this is where it becomes politics. We must rescue the people of, how do we call this place? Panjak. We must rescue Dodo Sobo and the rest of Jungule. Your Excellency, the first Vice President, I think I must walk away very quickly from here. But before I do that, I invite you for your turn. Thank you.